With this 22 gauge bead wire, I'm going to cut 25 centimeters using some wire cutters. I wouldn't recommend using scissors because it's going to dull the blades. I'm using this 10 millimeter 3-ply cord, and that's going to act as the filler or the structure for the ghost. Cut a 45 centimeter length of cord. Take the tip of your wire and place it about 10 centimeters from the end of the cord. Then cut a little piece of tape. Secure the wire to the cord, starting with the end and then doing it several spots all the way along, making sure the other end is securely attached with tape as well. You can see the general spacing I'm doing here with my tape. The most important is the beginning and the end. I'm using some 3 millimeter single strand cord. I place it in a bowl because that's going to help it not roll all over the floor while I'm using it, and I place that bowl onto the floor to do the next step of the project. Place the cord, and you want to make sure you cover the end of the wire as well as the tape, and then start wrapping, and you want to wrap until you completely cover that end. You want to keep each wrap really nice and snug to the next one. Now it's really nice to use a glue gun and dab a little bit of glue and then wrap over that, and that's really going to help to keep the cords nice and snug to each other and keep them in place. This technique of gluing is really helpful, especially when you do a really long cord, like the last one we're going to do that we're making the arms for the ghost. Gluing is key for that because you're just going to be able to keep that nice and snug together, and it's not going to loosen up as you go. You want to just keep going in the same manner, wrapping and gluing until you get to the end, and then you want to make sure you cover up that end. I'm going to dab a little bit of glue there to keep the cord in place, and then I wrap it so the wire is covered. You want to now bend it, and so the top is nice and tight because we're going to glue this together. And you also want to do it so that the bottom wraps are aligned, so they end at the same spot. And I'm going to trim that one end, and I'm doing it in a way that once I glue it, it's going to be tucked away and hidden. I'm adding a little bit of glue just to secure that end in its spot. Make sure it's aligned. And then glue the two sides so they're joined together. I'm carefully pressing them together at the end. I'm going in small sections, adding some glue, and then pressing the two sides together. If you're noticing any glue seep through, just use your fingers and dab it away carefully because the glue is hot, so you might want to give it a second to cool. And you can see here, I'm just at the last little bit, gluing it together, tucking those little ends away, and just making sure it's all nice and secure. And that's the first step of the ghost. Cut a 45 centimeter length of the cord. Place that cord around the existing wrapped cord and make sure the ends are aligned. Then pick the spot where you're going to start wrapping the cord so it aligns with the other wraps. And then wrap it in the same way we did before, adding glue along the way to keep the cords nicely tucked in place. Keep going, and then you want to check every once in a while to see how far you've come along, because you don't really want to wrap beyond the length that you need. Here I am just checking my progress to see how much further I need to go. So I just continue wrapping and gluing as we've been doing. And now I'm checking another time to see if I'm almost there, which I am. I can see I just need one more wrap, which I'm doing now. And then I double check to see how that alignment is, and it looks pretty great to me. So I start gluing the two sides together just a little bit at a time, attaching the two sides, and then I hold and press just to make sure it's nicely stuck together. You can see how nicely the ends are aligned. And now I'll just go bit by bit till I get to the other side. Don't glue the last inch, you'll see why in a second. You want to make sure all your ends are aligned. And then now you want to cut this loose end. That's why we didn't glue that last little bit. And then glue and tuck it away nicely. So press that nicely together. And we're getting closer. Now I'm cutting a length that's 75 centimeters long. Start making the shape for your ghost, making sure you have enough length for the arms on both sides. And also at the end, making sure you have enough length for the fringe that will be at the bottom of the ghost. Do the wrapping like we did before. This one's going to take a bit longer because it's a much longer cord that you need to cover. Lay out the shape so you make sure you've done enough wrapping of the cord, that you have some arms for your ghost, and everything's aligned nicely at the bottom. Start gluing it together, starting from the bottom, always making sure you're pressing it nice and firm together. Glue to where you want the underside of the arm to be, and then make sure that's nice and secure and dry before going on to shape the arm. Shape the arm how you like, and then glue above the arm into place. Make sure it's nice and dry and secure before you go on to glue the top part. Glue to where you want the top of your other arm to begin. Shape the arm, and then you want to glue and trim that bottom piece of cord before we go on. And then make your final adjustment before gluing the bottom part of your ghost together. Cut the fringe. Unravel all the ends. And trim to even up the ends if you need to. I'm using some black felt to make the eyes for this ghost, but as you saw with my other one, you could also do googly eyes. So I'm just cutting out the shape that I want. And as you can see, that one's a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to do a little trim. So there's the googly eyes and the felt eyes. Let me know in the comments below which one you like better. For the tassel ghost, I'm using 6mm single strand cord. I'm cutting each length 35 centimeters long. I cut 10 in total. I start to brush out the cords in bundles of 2. Once I've done 4, I bring them together and brush them all out together. Then I bring all of the cords together and brush them, keeping the ends relatively aligned. I fold the bundle in half evenly, and I brush them again. Using a thinner piece of cord, I tie all of those pieces together. And I do this with a nice tight double knot. I brush again. There is a lot of brushing in this one. With another piece of the thinner cord, I tie a double knot to make the head of the ghost. And I trim the ends from that knot. One more gentle comb, and then I cut the ends. I cut out the eyes with felt, but again, you could use googly eyes if you prefer. Using some fabric glue, I dab a little on each eye, and then I place them onto the ghost. Let me know in the comments below if you prefer the wrap ghost or the tassel ghost.